Hello, my name is Josh Bacon, and welcome to this week's Threat Intel podcast. With me is Chase Carlin,
How's it going, everyone?
Tracy Whitlock,
Hey.
Andrew Harrington,
Hey, good to be with you guys.
Jeff Jarecki,
Good morning.
and Michael Gay.
Hello.
We're a group of security engineers, and Jeff Jarecki is our CISO here at Volta, and we're here to walk you through the biggest stories from security this week. So getting started, Discord is a target as usual for stealing personal information. If anyone doesn't have 2FA enabled on Discord, make that your thing to take away today. But as usual, what we're seeing is packages on a third-party package hosting website, such as NPM, being, compromised so that these credential stealers exist within what were previously legitimate packages. So we have a list of the different packages that were being used. They didn't seem like big packages. We have small SM, per invalids, lifekiller, and proc title. It didn't seem like anything like the request library that was typo squatted for Python a couple weeks ago. No one here really even uses NPM, correct?
Not I, said the fly. But what are they doing? Because I haven't even gotten a chance to fully read all this. They are doing some data exfil of PCI info, or what are they? What are they getting from here?
So it's a little interesting because Discord is one of those things that's being used as kind of a new vector. It's something that pretty much everyone has, and you know, like compromising servers, compromising credentials is kind of a new field in its own. But adding payment methods into Discord and being able to steal those credentials from Discord is one of the things they're doing. It's mostly you drop it on someone's computer, you look through Discord's local files, you pull as much personal information out as you can, and you bring it back to the host, essentially. But this is, we've seen a lot of different packages do this. I mean, mostly it's malware that targets Discord, but this is the first time we've seen like typo squatted or compromised packages do this specific method. Does anyone actually have Discord?
New vectors every day. Yeah, I use Discord.
Yeah, you guys got 2FA?
No.
Yep.
I do not.
Please make that the thing you do after we get off this call.
Right. Well, I don't put anything in there of
No.
value. I don't do any business related activities or tasks. I mean, it's mostly gaming chat.
Yeah, so let's talk about why what Jeff said was wrong. So
Well,
Jeff
please
said,
do that.
Jeff said he doesn't do anything of value, but he is in there as Jeff Jarecki, our CISO. And if I were to get a message from Jeff,
No, I'm not.
You are. I know who you are. I know who Jeff Jarecki is. See, even just having that identity compromised on something like Discord can be a problem.
You're right. To be fair, I always promote 2FA, MFA, anywhere and everywhere you can. I typically, though, because I don't want to overwhelm users, I don't want to overwhelm clients, I always say do it on things that matter, things in areas of value. And so to be fair, you bring up a very good point that there is now new value in Discord because it's around an identity. And if you are, tell me there's not like federation around Discord creds, please. There better never be federation around Discord creds. Let's just full stop.
If people can get your Discord creds, a lot of users recycle their same password.
Right. Well,
So,
and that's a lot of users. That's not me, but yes. But I'm with you. It is a new vector, one of concern. I always try. The reality is I know when we talk to our user base and we talk to people that security isn't their world, I'm only going to be able to get them to do so much, right? We typically, it's kind of a pull and a balance between what we can get them to do. So I always try to focus on the big areas first, right? Your bank, anything that is of value, let's start there. When we get them all caught up there, then we can talk about everything else. Of course, most people would say Facebook is unimportant. What's on Facebook? I don't know, everything, all of your life, all of your value. And by the way, half of the world federates through Facebook. So
yeah, and that's what we're seeing now is, like even as an MSP, security engineer, I get messages from customers on Discord asking me to do specific things.
Really?
Yeah, it's becoming one of those vectors where a lot of personal information is used. And I just hope everyone who's listening knows Discord has 2FA that you can enable at any time.
I'm going to go do it right now.
So time to patch is getting shorter. What we're seeing is that within 15 minutes of 0 days being released, we're seeing scanners already hitting public-facing servers. So this is Unit 42. This is a cybersecurity information collective from Palo Alto. They put out some really, really useful articles that are less like, daily articles, more just like insights and very specific processes on how these vulnerabilities take place. And they recently released an analysis showing that it really is, it's 15 minutes between a CVE being released and, when hackers start scanning for something. So if you're not someone who has, at the very least, patch management, whether or not that's a manual patch management or something like a WSUS server or manage engine, you are absolutely leaving your entire organization on the table every time one of these big vulnerabilities gets released.
That's a so good point. Patch management, vuln management, all these things super critical. But if we're being totally honest, most of our customers, I don't mean Volta's customer, I mean most companies, their patch management cycle might be monthly, it might be quarterly. I mean, I know some companies that really stretch it out. And again, I'm not talking about any of our customers, but a lot of companies are not, they're not doing daily patch management, which is why if you're listening to this and you're one of those companies that says, "Oh, we patch whenever there's something, if I see it in the news, I'll go patch for it." That's a bad sign for you. That is a situation where no one expects. It would be beautiful if you were running patch management, if you were patching machines daily. Not going to happen. Most companies aren't doing it. But you should have it on as early and quick a cadence as possible, because in reality, things like this is, by the way, what Josh is talking about here is this is when it is released, made public. Whoever figured out the 0 day had it for unknown period of time before then and has already been scanning. And if you happen to be a target of value, they may already be looking at you for that. So you really got to up your patch management game and make sure that if that is not a focus, really, folks, that is probably should be one of the absolute top priorities that you have for your security posture, is making sure that you are patching, because the vulnerabilities are just countless.
Yeah, like Jeff said, no, there isn't a single organization out there, or there probably are, like maybe the top that patch every day. Patches aren't released every day.
The higher you get, the lower the patch management cycle. I'm just telling you, I've worked at big companies. They do not patch as often as we would like to think that they would.
Right. But the two important things are scheduled chronic patching, to make sure you're doing this on a basis of, once a month, whatever it is, making sure that you're getting the patches that are chronically released. And then also an incident response plan. Whenever something big like Log4j comes out, you can get all hands on deck and make sure that that's not a vulnerability that exists within your environment as soon as possible. That's actually a really good transition to our next story. We've talked about Exchange servers quite a few times on this show, and it just continues because we're still seeing problems with Exchange servers, but what we're seeing now is this extra IIS backdoor that makes things a little bit more tricky. So compromised Exchange server, as we've said a couple times in the previous week, if you have an Exchange server that has not been patched recently, it should almost go ahead and be considered compromised, and you should be doing forensics on that. You should be making sure whoever had access to that compromised server, which with the amount of exploits that are available for these Exchange servers, you should consider it compromised. Check who has access to this. If there are any lingering access, do your basic forensics. But what we're seeing is now that on the IIS module on the Exchange server, people are creating these malicious extensions that are sitting at another layer deeper within the Exchange server, and it's a little harder to find. We can see an example of, on the handler mappings, this, whoever named it backdoor was sleeping in that day, but we have this backdoor open in the actual resources for the IIS server. It's just another layer deeper for these attackers to sit themselves to make it even harder to find. Has anyone seen something like this before?
Not in the wild.
No. No, this one's new. I mean, even Michael's shaking his head, so we haven't seen something
if
like
Michael hasn't seen it, that's telling.
But yes, if you have an Exchange server that has not been patched frequently, consider it compromised. Do your forensics, make sure that there's no lingering access within your environment. Finally,
Update your golden images and redeploy. Do not try to fix that machine.
yes.
Listen, folks, you can go and patch those things now, but it's too late, right? The damage is done. They're already in through other ways. So if you do believe that this is a problem for you, this is a scenario where you should be using like a golden image or a master copy. You would go and patch your master copy and update your golden image and then redeploy that server. I do realize that's a lot of work. I do realize the effort that that's going to take for you, but this is why we have vulnerability management programs, is to keep you from having to do that every day.
Yes, exactly. And make sure your VM sprawl isn't getting to a level where you can't back everything up if something were to happen. And then finally, I don't know if anyone is going to care about this. This feels like when Yahoo Answers shut down, honestly, but Amazon Drive is hitting the sunset. Has anyone here, please raise your hand if you've used Amazon Drive.
I think the photos that display on my Echo shows, and yes, I realize how bad it is that I have Echo shows. I don't care. I believe the photos are stored on Amazon Drive because it requires you. That's the only way they could get customers to use Amazon Drive.
Well, I'm sorry I ruined Jeff Jarecki's week, but for everyone else,
You ruined my week.
I don't
I
think
don't care about that.
very much. No.
No.
So if you have any files on Amazon Drive, if you're one of those companies that brought someone in 10 years ago and they performed all of your methods and now you haven't changed them in 10 years, that's something you're going to have to fix soon. It's apparently going to be moving to Amazon Photos, so that you still have a place to store videos and photo files. But stuff like this is always really, really interesting to me because I know this is Amazon, but I imagine like a lot when the internet was beginning and image hosting and asset hosting was a much more popular business. What's happening with those assets now that those companies are going out of business? It's kind of like when a company that their entire business is around storing your personal information goes out of business, what happens with that data? It's not
Good question.
It's not the funnest question to browse on, but I think that'll be the question I leave you all with. Anyone have anything else to say this week?
Oh, I'm going to add one thing to that before we close out. So if you're an organization that trusts other organizations with some of your services, so a previous life of mine, I handled third-party risk for a very large company. And one of the things that we always had to focus on is what kind of a steward that service provider was being to our company. Like, how were they protecting our data? What were the contractual obligations around preservation of data, deletion or destruction of data upon termination of contract, things of this nature? What I will tell you is if you're an organization that is trusting other organizations with your data, make sure you have it in a contract in writing what they are expected to do. And don't just trust that they're going to delete it or do the right thing. There's countless stories in the web, folks, of organizations, some intentionally, mostly inadvertently, doing the wrong thing with data and not properly destroying drives and storage and data being leaked out there. I mean, honestly, there's countless stories. So be sure that you are checking your contracts with service providers to ensure that they are contractually obligated to provide you typically with what's called a certificate of destruction. It is literally a certificate that indicates and proves how the media was physically destroyed or manipulated, or in the world of the cloud, which is everything, right? Showing that, and this, by the way, is partly your responsibility. If you are closing out service, you should be doing a crypto shredding on your data. You should be high crypto shredding your data to ensure that even if they don't do what they are supposed to and keep that storage media or get it cleaned up after the termination of contract, that you don't have to worry because you've cryptoed and thrown away the key. So really, really important, folks, because Josh brings up a really good point. You don't know what they're doing with this data once they're done with you or once you're done with them.
All right. If you or anyone you happen to listen to this with, if you listen to this with your wife or something, or your dog is worried about any of the stories you've heard this week, please contact us at Volta Inc. We're happy to handle the consultant or anything else you might need. Jeff, are you okay? Was it the dog?
It was just that it was a family event. I was just sitting here thinking, like, what a unique What a unique family that sits around and listens to Thread Intel. I think that would be beautiful.
That's
If
what
that's you, message us. Let us know if you and your significant other listen to this and enjoy this. It will be
That's what
awesome.
I do every week. I
Get the family, get the popcorn out, you know.
Yeah.
Robert was very interested for a while.
All right, folks, have a good week and stay safe. Keep your eyes sharp.
Take care, folks.
Trust Volta.